What's going on YouTube? So here in the US, the average price of a new vehicle has gone over $47,000. So you might be surprised to find out that you can buy this Mercedes for under that price at $43,000. So this is the Mercedes GLA. This is the most affordable model in their lineup, and we're standing here today with the latest 2025 model. So is the most affordable Benz a good choice? Well, let's go ahead and find out. All right, so first things first, let's go ahead and start off with a quick spec dump. So what you'll find under the hood of this most affordable Mercedes model is a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine on most trim levels. This is making 221 horsepower with the new Mercedes EQ Boost mild hybrid system that they added for the updated refreshed model. Now in terms of your transmission, you have an 8-speed dual clutch automatic transmission. We have standard front-wheel drive and available 4MATIC all-wheel drive. And for this all-wheel drive model, we're setting at 28 miles per gallon combined. Now, of course, we're going to go out on a test drive later on in this video. We're going to get things like our signature sound level reading. And later on, we're also going to be talking about resale value and reliability, which is a new thing that we have been adding to these Car Confections reviews. But first, let's go ahead and close up the hood because we need to look at what changes Mercedes has made to the exterior as well as the interior. Now before I get into the exterior, I do want to take a second to just mention that this GLA was thoroughly refreshed for the 2024 model year. Technically, we never covered that on the channel, and now we are on to the 2025 model year, which is what we have here with us today. Now, let's just talk about what did change with this refresh. So one of the things Mercedes did was change the grille. As you'd expect, we do have a revised shape on board. There's going to be a couple different versions you can get, just like all Mercedes models. We have the AMG line, so obviously that's going to give you some AMG elements, including the special grille finish that looks nice and premium. We also have a more aggressive lower fascia going through here. Of course, the big prominent Mercedes emblem is a good feature for a lot of you guys that are looking for a vehicle in this segment. And then coming over here to our headlights, you are going to have standard full LED lights. These also have a revised design. These are reflectors as standard, but you can also get an upgraded unit if you choose that option, or the 35 AMG model. Next up, let's go ahead and talk about our wheel options. So you can technically get a lot of different choices between 18 all the way up to 21-inch alloy wheels. What you're looking at on today's example are the 19-inch AMG line wheels. This is part of the AMG line package. And as you can see, it's got a very similar look to those performance Mercedes models you see all across the lineup. Now, as I move up here to the mirrors, I am happy to report that on the GLA, Mercedes just goes ahead and includes all the features just like they do on their more expensive products. So that means in addition to blind spot monitoring and heating, you are also going to get power folding and driver's side auto dimming. Now, before I go any further, you might be wondering, where is Mason? Well, in order to bring you guys all the latest and greatest content, we actually split up here, and Mason is currently in California filming a new vehicle for the channel. So we had to go our separate ways temporarily, but he will be back soon. Now, let's talk about the GLA again. So overall length is going to be just under 174 inches, so this is definitely a subcompact SUV, and it is a good deal smaller than the related Mercedes GLB in the lineup. This also has a lot sleeker of a look, so as you can tell, it does have almost a hatchback-like appearance. We don't have the A-Class hatchback here in the US. We just saw them in Canada, actually. I was kind of jealous, but this is as close as you're going to get here in the US. Now, as we move around to the back, let's talk about what has changed for this refresh model. As you can see, slight revisions in the overall look, just like with the front. The taillights are going to have a little bit of a different appearance that are going to match with the most latest and greatest Mercedes models. All the elements inside of the taillight unit as well are going to be LED. As we kind of drop down below here, I also want to point out they've got a exposed exhaust outlet setup. This is something I really like and I think adds a premium element to the overall exterior aesthetic. Now let's talk a little bit about safety features. So for the updated model, Mercedes is including more of them as standard equipment. We're going to have forward emergency braking with pedestrian detection, as well as the auto high beams. Those are included as standard equipment. All the rest of your active safety features are going to be in the driver's assistance package. Now, let's go ahead and get to the interior though, because they have made some changes in there. We also have a really cool interior design. But first,
if you're new here, we're brothers, and we've been reviewing cars since we were 12
and 16. We may be young, but we love cars.
And we'd love for you to subscribe to be a part of our Car Confections family. Let's learn a lot, have some fun with all the latest cars.
All right, now let's go ahead and check out the interior. First, of course, we'll take a quick look at the key fob. You have the typical Mercedes key fob here made of real metal trim. Smart entry is going to be a standard feature on this model. And the remote start is via the Mercedes Me app. To get inside, just reach behind the handle. That's going to unlock the door and fold the mirrors out. Now, let's go ahead and check out the interior. Really, the main thing with the interior is that you're going to have subtle updates just like with the exterior. They kind of just refined the overall formula that they've had for a few years. But as I was kind of talking about earlier, this does have a cool interior because we chose the optional real leather. And not just that, we also got the red and black. This is my favorite interior color, but I've never seen it in person. Now I have. As you can see, a really nice look to this. The whole center is going to be red. You've got the black on the outside edges and the color contrast stitching throughout. Really nice look to this. Again, this is the optional leather. It's just under $1,500 for the real leather. Otherwise, you're going to get the MB Tex, but they really feel about the same. Now, in terms of the seat controls, you're going to be looking at 12-way power adjustment, which is located over here on the door trim. We also have memory seats. And then heating and ventilated seats are both available options. But let's go ahead and climb inside. And now that we're fully inside, let's go ahead and talk about the rest of the cabin materials. Starting off with our door trim. Mercedes has finished this entire section here in a matching leather material to the seats. They've also done a leatherette material all across the top part of the door trim. Across the top part of the dashboard, we have a soft touch plastic. We have this center section, which is finished in that kind of Mercedes emblem design. This is very similar to what we've seen on some of the EQ products. And then as we move down to the center section, this is going to be finished mostly in a piano black all through here. No padding along the center console, though. Now we'll go ahead and fire it up with our standard push button start. Now that everything is all fired up, let's get into some of the individual details. So the first place really to start off with, as always, of course, is the gauge cluster. But this is one of our changes with the refreshed model, and that's the fact that this dual 10.25-inch display setup is now standard across the lineup. Previously, the basic trim levels used to have the 7-inch displays. That's obviously a big improvement overall and gives this cabin a much more premium look. Now, as far as the gauges themselves, fully reconfigurable, so you can use the steering wheel controls there to cycle between all different kinds of unique views depending on whatever your taste is. Furthermore, on the Pinnacle version, you can get a head-up display. Now, let's pull back to the steering wheel. This is another area that has changed. So as you can see, we've got the latest and greatest Mercedes steering wheel. This is one of my favorite steering wheels in the business. I love the overall shape of it as well as the just look of it. You have that cool kind of see-through effect going on right through there. It is flat bottomed as well and has a nice premium feeling leather wrapped around the outside edges. The wheel itself is going to be manual tilt and telescoping. And by the way, this design is part of the AMG line. Heating is available on that steering wheel as well. But we don't have it on today's example. And let's take a look inside the storage area. Not a ton of storage on this. This is a pretty small SUV after all, but this is deeper than it looks, and it does have a nice felt lining on the very bottom of it. We don't have our donuts with us today, unfortunately, so I can't test that out, but we have done that in past Mercedes with the same center console, and you can fit, I believe it's about 7 donuts inside. Now, as we kind of move to this area, you've got a little rubber area right here where you could set your phone or something like that. You've got a couple cup holders. These are adjustable in size. And then you have another storage area right there in the front. This is going to be your wireless phone charging pad as well. Now we'll pull back and take a look at the shifter. So just like all the other Mercedes products, you do have the column mounted shifter. Just press down for drive. We also have paddle shifters on the steering wheel for this model. Press up for reverse. This is what our standard backup camera looks like. So as you can see, we do have that active trajectory in the standard rear view. You also have 360 parking sensors, and you can get a 360 camera, but we don't have it on today's example. So today's example kind of is a good example of what you can get with a lower equipped model, because this one doesn't have a ton of options and it still keeps a relatively affordable price, which we'll talk about a little later. Now, let's move into our climate controls next. One of the things I'm very happy that Mercedes didn't do was change the climate controls a whole bunch, because they're very simple and easy to use, and they're also very high quality. This is a dual zone automatic setup. We have these nice metal toggles here to adjust the temperature up and down. When you make those adjustments, it appears in the display itself, and everything is physically rendered. You'll notice you've got your 3 vents, which are very stylish. They also have the ambient lighting inside of it. And by the way, the ambient lighting in this cabin is excellent, as you'd expect from the Mercedes brand. They don't cheap out on this, so you've got basically a lot of different colors you can choose from. I believe 64 total colors, and it's going to run across that trim here, which, by the way, underneath the stars, these are illuminated as well. And then you've also got the over there on the door trim and in all the footwells. So really nice ambient lighting. Now, before we get into the main infotainment system, we do need to come down here and talk about our audio system. So like I was saying, we don't have too many options on this model. So we have the standard audio system. Mercedes hasn't said how many speakers this system has. We counted 7, so I believe it's a 7-speaker sound system. And let's see if this bass system is any count. Not too bad at all. Actually, it fills up the cabin quite nicely, seems pretty balanced, and also does have a decent amount of bass. Now, obviously, you can option on a Burmester if you're a big audiophile, but it's probably not necessary, especially if you want to save a little bit of money and go for a lower equipped model. All right, now let's talk about the main infotainment system. Like I already said, this is a 10.25-inch display. Right now, I'm inside of the Android Auto interface. Wireless Android Auto and wireless Apple CarPlay are included as standard equipment on all models. This is the latest MBUX system as well. You have the ability to have updates. You do have also a built-in augmented reality navigation system if you choose to have that option. We don't have it on today's example. Now, as we kind of wrap up the front of the cabin, you have an auto-dimming mirror with HomeLink universal remotes. We also have a popular feature that I imagine a lot of you guys are going to option on. This is our panoramic sunroof. This is about a $1,500 option, and the front panel does open up. Now, you're probably wondering, is the back seat a penalty in this most affordable Mercedes-Benz? Well, I'm happy to say it is not. Even though this is a subcompact crossover and pretty small on the outside, the interior, and especially the back seat, does feel pretty spacious. So you're looking at a little over 38 inches of legroom, also a little over 39 inches of headroom. I'm 5'8", and this is my driving position, and I'm sitting completely comfortable. The other thing I really like about what they've done is they have raised these front seats up quite a bit, so that gives me a lot of space for my feet, and I can stretch all the way out, as well as giving you, a higher driving position up there in the front. Let's also talk about the features you're going to find in the back. So you will find rear air vents here with that same design as the front. We have a tiny little storage shelf down below that. And surprisingly, we also have a lot of connections. So you have 2 USB-Cs, and we also have a household power outlet. That's very nice to see. Now, if you take a look here at the center, there is actually not a armrest or cup holders inside. That's a little strange, but the center section does fold down independently from these 2 seats. Speaking of the seats, One thing I do want to note is that they don't recline. This is the fixed position, which is pretty comfortable, but you can't change it even if you want to. Now, as far as the door trim, materials are the same as they are in the front. So we have the leatherette across the top part, as well as the big swath of red leather all through there. And you've got a little bit of bottle storage down below as well. Now let's go ahead and see what type of cargo capacity you have. First off, you do have a standard power tailgate on all models. And when we open that up, your first measurement is going to be pretty small, only 15.4 cubic feet behind the second row. However, things get a lot better once you fold down that second row. So when those seats are folded, you're going to be looking at a maximum of 50 and a half cubic feet. Just be aware that, again, if you want more space, the GLB, which is related to this model, is going to be a better choice, or you could also get the GLC. Now I went ahead and folded the seats down. As you can see, they do go almost completely flat. Just be aware there are no handles in the back to fold them down, so you will have to physically go and fold them down, or just reach up when you have this cargo cover moved out of the way. Now, as far as a little bit of extra things to talk about, if I lift this up, no storage underneath here, or a spare tire, but you will find where the Mercedes EQ Boost stuff is living. All right, so now it's time to take this Mercedes GLA out on the street. Of course, as always, we're going to be covering the typical information. We're going to do things like get our signature sound level reading as well. And before we get started, I do want to real fast reintroduce Josh. He's helping out today with the filming for this video while Mason was in California. But let's go ahead and get started with the hard acceleration. All right, there we are, hitting 60 miles an hour with this GLA 250. So the 250 means that this is the standard engine. This is what most people are going to choose when it comes to the GLA. Obviously, that gets you the most affordable price tag, and it is more than enough power as well for most purposes. So you're looking at, again, 221 horsepower, 258 pound-feet of torque. That is courtesy of a 2-liter turbocharged 4-cylinder engine. And also, with the refresh, they added EQ Boost. So that is a mild hybrid system that, in addition to powering things such as the advanced auto start-stop, it does also temporarily boost the power by up to 13 horsepower.
Now, as many of you are familiar with the Mercedes lineup, you also get a more powerful AMG option in the form of the AMG 35 GLA. That also has a 2-liter turbo 4-cylinder, making 302 horsepower, 295 pound-feet of torque. And that also gets the added EQ boost with that 2024 refresh. Now, one change for this refresh is that they no longer offer the range-topping GLA 45 AMG. So if you are truly power hungry, that 35 is going to be the most that you can get out of this lineup.
Now, setting at this red light would be a good time to just talk a little bit further about the EQ Boost system. As I was saying, it does power an advanced auto start-stop system. One of the things you'll notice that does, while you are still coming to a stop, it'll go ahead and turn the engine off. Also, you could be even at speed, but if you're under low load, it'll go ahead and turn that engine off while you are coasting. All those things are just going to be giving this vehicle the ability to get better and better fuel economy.
And what is that fuel economy, you might ask? Well, the front-wheel drive model gets 29 mpg combined. This all-wheel drive, 4MATIC all-wheel drive model we're in gets 28 combined, and the AMG gets 24 combined.
And now let's talk a little bit about the other aspect of the powertrain, which is our transmission. So this actually has an 8-speed dual-clutch automatic transmission. This is the transmission Mercedes uses on a lot of their A and B series models. They're more affordable models, and overall performance is quite good. As typical for a dual clutch, you're going to be looking at very fast shifts. Even in the comfort mode, when you put your foot down, you can get multiple gears to drop very quickly. And overall, it doesn't have any types of weird feels or anything, even when you're at low speed. Also, as I mentioned at the spec dump, this does come standard with front wheel drive. For $2,000 more, you can add the 4MATIC all-wheel drive system. Now we're out of the traffic and we're kind of out on a highway surface. Let's talk a little bit about ride quality. So of course, with a 3-point star on the front, you want to know how does this ride and how does it compare to other Mercedes models. Well, as you would expect, the GLA is going to be a little bit rougher around the edges than, say, something like a GLC, but that's not to say it is bad at all. Overall, especially with this size of wheel, it absorbs all the normal bumps pretty nicely. Everything feels solid in terms of the overall structure. If you went for really large wheels, you probably would get a penalty in terms of your ride quality, as you'd expect. But the other thing I want to point out is the fact that this does have available adaptive suspension. We don't have it on this model, but I'd certainly recommend, if you're going to upsize the wheels, to also add the adaptive suspension. That way you have some variability in terms of your ride quality.
And I will say these seats as well are pretty comfortable. If you've been in any of the A and B series Mercedes, you know they're a little bit on the harder side. You will probably find something a little bit comfortable in something like a BMW X1. And now Drew is speeding up to 55 miles an hour to get our official Car Confections sound level reading. We're going to make sure that we're at fan speed 1, and we'll go ahead and get that. And we're going to settle at 61.3 decibels for our official Car Confections sound level reading. And I don't have to sit here and guess how it compares to all of its competitors, because I can go to carconfections.com/sound level readings, where we have all of our sound level readings listed for every segment to look at this car and all of its competitors. So let's go ahead and look at that. And even though that wasn't the best sound level reading, it does show that it's in line with other entry-level Mercedes products. It sits right with the GLA we tested in 2023, as well as the GLB that we tested for 2024.
Yeah, so definitely, that's one of the more noteworthy things. If you are wanting the most serene cabin, you're going to want to look at the GLC, because that's going to substantially quiet down the interior noise. And now for today's slam dunk and airball. For the slam dunk, I'm going to say that it is the refreshed elements. I like the stuff that they've added, not only to keep it up to date, but also to just kind of improve the overall feature set, as well as make it look in line with all the latest and greatest Mercedes products. And then on the airball side of things, I think is just going to be the fact that prices can escalate quickly. We're going to talk about this in just a second, but it does have a very appealing base price. You just have to be willing to go for a pretty basic example if you want to keep that lower base price.
And to finish things up with your warranty, you're going to have your standard Mercedes warranty, 4-year, 50,000 miles for both your basic and powertrain warranties, and they still do not offer any complimentary maintenance.
All right, so now you've made it to a very important part. This is where we get to talk about pricing for the most affordable Mercedes model. So for 2025 model year, the GLA is going to begin at $43,000. That's going to be for a front-wheel drive model. When you option on 4MATIC all-wheel drive, like we have on today's example, that's going to raise the price by $2,000 for a base price of $45,000. Now, in terms of our equipment on this, like I said, fairly lightly optioned. We have the optional leather. The other big ticket items we have is AMG line and the panoramic sunroof, and we're looking at a S-tested price of $53,555. Now, if you want the best price in your local area for a Mercedes GLA or any new vehicle, head to carconfections.com/newcarquotes. By going there, that is where you're going to be able to get that best price. That's also where you're going to find access to invoice pricing information, which is a great tool for dealership negotiation when you're ready to buy. A link is provided down below in the video description, as well as a pinned comment. Now we're at the part of the video where we talk about potential resale value and reliability. First up, resale value. Mason is an economics graduate, so him and I took the time to develop what we think is a good estimate for this vehicle's potential resale value. We estimate that after 5 years and 50,000 miles, it will be worth 41.19% of its original price, and after 10 years, 17.03% resale value.
We've also done the same for potential reliability by creating the Combined Reliability Index, which combines multiple studies from trusted automotive resources. Based on this ranking, Mercedes-Benz is rated below average and compared to all other vehicle makes.
If you'd like to check out all our data about reliability and resale values, as well as learn about our methodology, make sure to head over to carconfections.com/resale and /reliability. Buying a new vehicle is a big decision, and this is a great place to check out if you're cross-shopping vehicle makes. Well guys, thanks for watching this in-depth review of the 2025 Mercedes GLA. We hope you found this video useful and that you also learned a lot about this Mercedes GLA. And if you did, make sure you go down below and subscribe. When you subscribe, that's what gives us the ability to give you guys access to the latest and greatest vehicles. We would love for you to be a part of our Car Confections family because we have a lot of fun and we don't want you to miss out on that. If you're already a part of our family, we really appreciate your support because you make this all possible. We'll catch you next time as we sample more of the latest automotive delicacies.